Hey guys, Jesna here, and today I'm bringing you something a bit different than the usual Dishonored Brightmoor Witches playthrough that you've been seeing me in. Kerbal Space Program. I guess a lot of you have heard about it, and I'm guessing probably more of you haven't heard about it. I love this game though. It's well, basically you play at the helm of the Kerbal Space Program. So the Kerbals are kinda human-like but funny-looking little guys who are trying to get to space and explore their solar system from their home planet Kerbin. And yeah, well, I've been playing this game quite a lot recently, and I think it's great. I mean, who didn't want to be an astronaut when they grew up? I've been doing all kinds of shenanigans, like putting space stations around Kerbin, going different places, landing probes on various planets, landing people, I almost said Kerbals on different places, and so forth. But one thing I've had in mind for quite a while is to make like a more serious program where the Kerbals actually try to do something on a grand scale in the Kerbal universe. And my idea is that the Jool system, which I guess is supposed to resemble Jupiter and Jupiter's moon in our own solar system, well, that seems to be quite a great place for our dear Kerbals to go and explore and mine for resources and settle. So this will be the first of a series where we well, basically try to settle the Jool system. And yeah, you're probably gonna see a lot of epic explosions and failures along the way, but with a bit of determination and a whole lot of luck and my amazing skill at designing hilarious looking spacecraft, I think it's gonna be great. So what you see me building right here is the first actual mission to the Jool system. It's a space station that will be deployed in orbit around Jool itself. It's actually, as I'm planning, the first of 3 parts of the station. The main part, which has a habitation module and a utilities module and a main module. And to that long prong sticking out on the top, I'm planning to add some kind of huge, massive solar array to provide them with electricity needed. And to the back, I'm gonna add some kind of array thingy to add fuel tanks to. And yeah, one thing I'm thinking that we're gonna do in this program is to use the Kethane plugin for KSP, which will allow us to mine the moons of Jool for Kethane, which can then be refined into fuel, basically. So in the long run, the settlement up on the moons of Jool will become quite self-sufficient. But that is quite a few episodes into the future. Our first challenge right now is basically just getting this thing into Jool orbit. One thing I don't want to do is to assemble spacecraft. I don't know for you who hasn't played this game a lot. A common thing is to, since it's quite difficult to get things to launch from Kerbin to orbit, people a lot of times send them in small parts and assemble them in Kerbin orbit and then go where they want them to go, which I'm not going to do here. I'm aiming to go to Jool in one from launch to Jool with every part, and then assemble what I need over there. So I'm constructing, I'm using the KW rocketry add-on to construct an actual launch vehicle as well, to be able to lift these kinds of heavy loads into orbit and launch them all the way to Jool. So we'll see how we fare about that, but so far the station is looking as nice as it could in this stage at least. But well, Kerbal spacecraft are known for failing spectacularly, so well, let's see. This is the actual first launch attempt, and yeah, like I said, spectacular failure. I don't think there was enough struts holding that thing together. But no worries though, let's try this again. Second attempt, basically same lifter craft, and yeah, seems we're getting off to a good start here. Nothing looks to be out of order straight away, and we're accelerating the way we should. There are quite a lot of videos on other channels about basics of how to launch into orbit and so on, and you may notice I have some things on screen which the smart ASS and the orbit info, which are not part of the basic game. It's part of a plugin called MechJeb, which basically can make life a lot easier for you. But this launch is looking good so far. We're coming up onto the first stage, separation, and everything blows apart. I'm not exactly sure what I did wrong there, so let's try again. Looking good. Oh, not that good. But eventually, after many trials and errors, I get frustrated enough to use the MechJeb ascent guidance, and well, to cut a long story short, this time we actually make it into orbit. The setup I'm using here, for all of you not familiar with KSP, I can't speak today, sorry guys. It's popularly known as asparagus staging, meaning that you have extra fuel tanks around the main tank, which are feeding into each other in a certain way, which makes the efficiency as well, makes them maximally efficient, really, because I mean the amount of fuel you bring from launch, I'd say like 90% of it is just to get off of Kerbin and into orbit. But here you go, you can see our apsis is rising nicely, and we're approaching the edge of the atmosphere, which is at 70,000 meters in this game. And basically, once you reach the atmosphere, you just have to do an additional burn to get your parikey up and circularize your orbit. And as you can see there, I jettisoned the main drive stage because I don't want that one to be in a perpetual orbit around Kerbin. But there we go. I'm in Kerbin orbit. So for the next step we need to actually find a transfer window to Jool. And it turns out to be in quite a number of days. And while there is time acceleration in this game, well, you won't get to see that here, I just skipped it, but in low orbit you can't time accelerate how fast you want. So a good trick is to have like a dummy vehicle landed on Kerbin or wherever, so you can jump to that one and speed right along. But yeah, here you saw me setting up the actual exit burn from Kerbin, which will put us on an intercept trajectory with Jool. And at this point I was quite happy. Later on I realized that I didn't really think this escape through, and we do quite a bit of extra travel to get to Jool. Basically I'm launching us into a sun orbit which is far too wide, making us go outside of Jool, almost outside the solar system, and then back and intercept Jool at the return. But well, yeah, it seems I've constructed a vehicle with more than enough fuel to make this trip. In any kind of you see the engines being used here are nuclear engines, and those are the ones that you will be using in any kind of interplanetary travel in this game. They are very they have very low thrust, but they are very efficient. So in cases like this, the only problem with having low thrust is that you're gonna have burn times of 5, 10 or maybe even 20 minutes at sometimes, and you can't time accelerate during well, when the engines are being thrusted. So yeah, that's a bit of a bummer. But you guys get the luxury of watching this at 4 times speed, and with most of the tedious parts cut out. I think all in all I've probably spent what you're watching here in a little more than 20 minutes. I've probably spent 4 to 5 hours game time to create, so I hope you appreciate the effort. But yeah, you can see we're our solar orbit is growing and growing, and you want to hit that indicated line which will bring us to Jool. And yeah, here we actually made it. Let's check out how our dear Kerbals are faring inside their spacecraft. I think they're doing quite good. Some of them have a view at least, while some of them might not. Those guys without the view might be a bit bummed because the mission is like 2 years in Kerbal time. But yeah, we finally arrive at Jool, and I think I'm thinking I'm very smart to do aerobraking around Jool and set me up for a periapsis of 108 kilometers, thinking that will bring me in a perfect orbit. But it turns out that I did go a bit too deep into the Jool atmosphere, and realizing that I tried to run the thrusters prograde to save the situation, but I realized that yeah, maybe I didn't do my calculations properly before attempting this maneuver. So yeah, as you can see, I put me on myself on a perfect collision course with Jool, which I am with the low thrust nuclear engines are unable to stop. And in these cases, it's great that the game has a quick save feature. So here we go again, and this time I'm going to set myself up just 10 kilometers higher into the atmosphere, or sorry, 20 kilometers higher at 128 kilometers. Oh, my cat is screaming in the background. Having figured that we really need to not be that aggressive with our aerobraking here. Sorry. So yeah, here you can see me fine-tuning the periapsis for the aerobraking, turning the spacecraft the right way around, and then time accelerating, getting closer to the burn point, performing the actual burn to get our periapsis right, which is about there. And then we can go back to time accelerating down towards the planet again. And there you see Jool, our target, in the distance. Important thing to remember before doing aerobraking, of course, is to retract all your solar panels and stuff, because they are going to break if you enter the atmosphere with them extended. So this time we go in for a much nicer aerobraking. It doesn't make our orbit perfect with the first rounds. We have to circle around Jool a couple of times, aerobraking to I mean, you could just use the engines to do this, but you will waste a ton of fuel trying to get your speed down from the solar orbit speed you had to a Jool orbit. But yeah, in a couple of turn revs we make it, and well, this is us making the final burn to put us in a 900 kilometer orbit over Jool. And we made it, guys. Everyone is safe and sound. We are in a pretty nice circular orbit around Jool, and we can actually eject the drive stage, which we won't be needing anymore. Oh, and as you notice, Jool is green rather than orange that our Jupiter is. Yeah, there you see me ejecting the drive stage. That is gonna stay around in orbit as well, but well, yeah, you can't keep all of space clean, I guess. I guess I could have made some kind of maneuver where I could ditch it, but never mind. I do, however, notice a slight problem where I want to go and EVA some of these guys. I mean, I want them to leave the space station. And we will see that in just a minute, after me trying to make my orbit perfect. You see, once you put something in orbit which you will want to be able to dock with later on, you generally want to have it facing in a certain direction, because it's gonna make docking a heck of a lot easier later on. Turn on all the lights, which aren't that dramatic, in Jool orbit, because it's quite bright. But there you have it, the first part of our Jool station, looking mighty fine, if I may say so. But now we realize that we can't really EVA. All of the exit hatches from the different modules where there are people seems to unfortunately be blocked. So that means that these guys aren't going anywhere. And so far in this game there's no implemented functionality to move people between modules. Even if I would dock another craft to this, I can't move them over. So they are basically stuck in here unless I land this thing back on Kerbin and recover the craft, which might be quite a long time in the future. But yeah, as you can see, some of them has really nice views of Jool, which they might be happy with for the foreseeable future. Anyways, favorite, like, and subscribe for more. Just now out.